Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of COMETSA Television Network, the COMETSA Tuesdays Live, brought to you here by the COMETSA Group. My name is Sam Zima, your regular host. We have one of those Tuesdays wherein we talk about coaching. We are welcoming experts that are involved in the field of coaching. This is the mind, the journey, the destiny. We apply our mind to the journey that takes us to our destiny. Our shows are based on the principle we call the idea. We inform and entertain, we develop and educate, we empower and support, we associate and network. That's the idea. I hope we going to live up to that expectation, up to that principle this evening. The COMETSA Tuesdays happen on the Tuesday of every month, same time, 1800 hours, South Africa Standard Time or Central African Time. The first Tuesday of the month, we profile one of our members and their business and position them in the COMETSA ecosystem. The second Tuesday, we look at authorship and readership development. And from now onwards, we're going to be looking at those two topics interchangeably. Last week, we had an exciting session on authorship. The next second Tuesday in August, we're going to look at readership. I'm looking for people who have read books and want to inspire us, take us along and make us jealous to go and read those books. So that's very, very important. We want our authors to have readers. Without readers, there is no authorship. The third Tuesday of the month, we look at what we are going to talk about today, which is the executive coaching and mentoring from the entrepreneurship perspective, the practical side of it. Yes, we talk about the theory side of it, but what's important for us, we want to cultivate this industry. This is the second highest fast-growing industry in the world, not just locally here, in the world. It's a big, big industry. That's why we're dedicating this third Wednesday to coaching and mentoring from entrepreneurship perspective. Of course, we look at the whole entire value chain from education, training, to accreditation, credentialing, to setting up a coaching practice, to prospecting, contracting, and delivering the solution to the clients. The last Tuesday of the month, which will be next week, we look at the African LEKGOTLA Facilitation, Learning, and Development Methodology. If you're an African, you must know about LEKGOTLA. Some people call it Gotla in Botswana. We call it LEKGOTLA in Limpopo, and LEKGOTLA, I guess, in the southern part in Lesotho. But it is actually an African principle concept of holding meetings, engaging in conversations, resolving conflict, and of course, even learning from each other. That's the COMETSA Tuesdays lineup. And of course, we are establishing this ecosystem. We encourage every one of you who can to be part of us. I will share with you our website. In fact, if you click on the QR code there in front of you on the screen, that will take you to our website, and you go further down, you will see there are three icons there, one for a new applicant to become a member of the COMETSA ecosystem, and there's one for the existing members to log in, renew your credentials. If you forgot your login details, you can do that there. And if you are a corporate and you want to be connected to this ecosystem, this network of professionals, coaches, mentors, consultants, facilitators, we have them all. So you can also become a corporate member, and let's partner in helping you developing your leadership. So that is all about a bit of a promo from our side. But tonight, we're talking about transitioning from coaching school to professional practice. It is amazing how little we talk about this phase of transitioning from the learning side into the practical side. We assume that every graduate of coaching automatically make a success of it when they enter corporate or the practical side of it. Here at COMETSA, this is very important to us. We are very excited at all times when we meet people who have graduated from business schools, academies, colleges in coaching, because really Africa needs more. But we also are mindful of the fact that the industry is very tough. This is a highly competitive industry, and we will want to incubate, support, and welcome the graduates and make them feel home. And by belonging to our ecosystem, we know that within a very short period of time, you will be clocking your hours and even talking about the credentialing process. So we're not a coaching federation. We are a coaching ecosystem. We all belong to federations. We belong to COMETSA, we belong to ICF, we belong to EMCC, we belong to ABCCP, and many others that exist there. That is a requirement. And of course, we're contributing to growing the industry. So why did we decide on this topic? We feel that our brothers and sisters that are in the colleges and universities and transitioning into the industry should not be left alone. So this conversation explores that transition through the personal and professional development experience. And we have none other than our brother here, Mzwandile Manto, is going to be our guest. He's going to take us back to the times he spent doing his Master of Management in Business and Executive Coaching, MBEC, from the Wits Business School, the famous Wits Business School. Who doesn't know Wits Business School? One of the oldest business schools in the country. I know about that program. It's one of the most highly regarded programs in the country. But I know very well that such programs are not very much focusing much on the practical side. Yes, the students do have to make hours, but they're focusing more on the concepts and processes, and philosophies. So we are here to partner with them as they graduate to say, you need not be worried about entering the world of work, the world of practice. We are here, and today we're going to hear about his journey into coaching and the realities of becoming an executive coach and the importance of continuous professional development, the opportunities and challenges of building a sustainable coaching enterprise. And also we'll hear from him practically what has been those challenges while he was at the university. And of course, when he entered the world of work, what were some of the areas that he feels he needs help with us. Let's in a coaching way, allow him to say hi and check in, and then I will introduce our other special guests that we always have. We call them observer guests. Today we just don't have an observer guest, we have an observer guest executive coach. Wow. My brother Mzwandile, welcome. Yes. You are the guest of honor this evening. Must be feeling very good and you must be feeling home here at COMETSA. Say hi to our viewers.
Hi, Sam, and hi to the viewers, and thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Beautiful, beautiful. We're going to get to know more about you. Let me welcome my other brother and also thank him very much for bringing us into touch with you. Brother Coach Dr. Puma Mangiza. We are compatriot. We meet a lot at Dr. Mazu Majola's leadership platform a number of times. Today, I'm hosting you. Welcome. Greetings to you, and thank you for being here.
Yeah, no, thank you very much, Brother Sam, Coach Sam. A very good evening. to Mr. Mzwandile Manto. I call him Mzwai. Good evening to the colleagues as well who may have joined from the other, platforms. We are hoping to have it joyful. Thank you very much.
Beautiful. What a pleasure to have you here accompanying Mzwandile. It's not a long time ago that you as a fellow coach were very excited in introducing me to Mzwandile and say, let's welcome the brother. He's completed one of the most difficult courses in the country in terms of coaching from Wits Business School. And I can't wait to engage him. Thank you so much for introducing him to us.
Thank you so much.
Brother Mzwandile, let's take everybody that is listening back to the roots. Where do you hail from and which part of South Africa did you grow up?
Yes, I was born on a farm, actually. You might remember that after the 1856 killing of the cattle by non-Hausa's lies, then a lot of people who were dispossessed and displaced, from that so-called national suicide, they went to work in farms that were started by the British settlers. So my grandfather was born in that farm as well. And I was born in that farm, but I then moved, to Tanzania. And then after Tanzania, I moved to Cape Town to study. So that's what has informed my upbringing, because I became particularly aware of what especially the Black people are going through from my experiences in growing up on a farm, and therefore the importance of empowerment programs such as coaching and other programs that help people to overcome their inferiority complexes and also the problems that make them to not have confidence in themselves as a result of their of where they come from and their experiences.
Wow. I want to visit that farm.
I can take you there.
And I know I'm not the only one.
Yeah.
Because many of us think that it was just a fairy tale.
No, it was not a fairy tale. It was quite difficult. One of the things that, in one of the articles I published via Mail and Guardian, I also said that one of the, I don't want to say challenges, one of the tragedies that we saw unfolding in those farms, was the way that, our fathers and grandfathers were treated. They were called boys, and some of them were getting, beaten up by, people who were way younger than them. Of course, by people I refer to the farm owners, the white farm owners, So you get exposure, to those set of things. So it's not a fairy tale. Those conditions, were existing. If I may add something quickly, Sam, that there is a recognition of that of those challenges or the conditions of people. They call them labor tenants. So there is that recognition on the part of government. For instance, I think Land Affairs, if I'm not mistaken, they started, a master of the High Court. That office is facilitating the process of I don't know how to put this. The concept is gone there, but it is to ensure that those people who are called labor tenants, who are on farms and were paid slave wages, if they were paid at all. So those people are getting something from those farms, like a share of the farm, like a piece of land. If they want to sell it, they sell it. So that is a recognition that, this is the life that they lived, in those farms, a life of being slaves. So by way of ensuring that, they bring them, justice and fairness, then that's the program that they have.
Many people that grow up in such farms, they don't easily escape those environments.
Yeah.
So what in your case, what helped you to get out of that environment? I know you talk proudly of it because that's what your roots are, but
Yeah.
you worked yourself out of that situation. Take us
Yeah.
through that experience and the kind of education you followed and what enabled you to follow that kind of education.
Yes. At present, there is what they call nature versus nurture. That is, and I believe in this, having an inbuilt compass towards a particular dream or goal. You have this dream or goal in you that I would like to be something big, and I feel that I can be something big. But when it comes to nature, how those dreams come into being is the observation that you'd have of people who surround you. And those white farmers were, for me, to a certain extent, inspiration or a window into a different world than the world that I was living in. And still on nature, my mother and my father, especially my mother, they had a very, very big influence on me because they drummed it on me that, I must get education. I was very young then, about 4, 5 years to 6 years, when they used to more or less, very regularly say to me that, you must get education. So that really inspired me, a lot. That inspired me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, that Mzwandile Manto is our guest of honor this evening at COMETSA Tuesdays Live. We are dedicating this show to the field of coaching, and he's giving us background. Dr. Mangiza is here, and I understand that you hail from the same province as well. Have you been to the farm where all this interesting stories happened, or similar kind of environment, Dr. Mangiza?
From Zwei, having grown up from a farm, but this is where you are now.
Yeah.
Having taken lessons, the nature versus nature, it's the first concept, that I get to learn. I did not know that there is something like that.
Yeah.
No, thanks for the opportunity. I am hailing as well from the Eastern Cape, formerly known as Transkei. Back then, before 1994, a district of Engobo, in a village there, called Manzana. Grown up, or grew up under, my grandfather and my grandmother from a maternal side. That's what I cherish most because had it not been their inspiration, I would not have been here. I would not have been here now. It was a farm-like an environment, where growing up we used to wake up so early, in the morning, as little as 4-year-olds, unfortunately, the grandparents, had a lot of livestock, big, maize meal or mealie fields. The first thing, that we had to do as boys, young boys, was to wake up. By 5 o'clock, you are up already, milking, those cows and goats. As you grow up in stages, you begin, to be bigger, and you're milking the cows, looking after the goats, the livestock of the grandfather, and plowing, those mealie fields without tractors,
Wow.
So the endurance that one got out of there. And the grandfather as well, like Mzwai has said, that they were always preaching education. And that's the only, thing that we could inherit, from our grandparents and parents. Hence, I'm
wow.
here.
Thank you very much for that perspective. And when I went to the coaching school, Mzwandile,
Yes.
I was quite amazed and inspired by what they taught me, that you are not coming into the coaching course empty. You are bringing the perspective into the coaching course, and that is the basis on which we are going to build your coaching journey. Now, listening to the two of you sharing your perspective, which is nothing else but your background, what happened to you until you where you are now, and how did you then build the coaching journey on that? I just want to highlight this fact, because those who have not been to a coaching school and are still planning to go there, they must be assured that there's nothing to unlearn when you come into coaching. You come as you are with what you know, and that is the perspective, and we're going to build you through coaching education on that. And that is called perspective. Thank you very much for that. And the next point I'm very interested in, and I looked at your profile, it looked like at some stage you wanted to be is it a psychologist or a social scientist, or you went into humanities, or you went into education? At what point, maybe you could clarify that, because it wasn't clear to me, but at what point did you decide that I'm going to follow coaching, and what triggered that? And before you answer that, just give us clarify that little perspective that I was trying to hook onto the story that you were telling.
Yeah, well, actually, it's quite it's quite an interesting but sad story, right? Because in the beginning, I wanted to be a lawyer. I wanted to do legal studies, and the the Xhosa word for lawyer is igqwetha. Dr. Magisa knows, and igqwetha is to twist. The word "gweta" is to twist, loosely translated, and to twist the truth. Now, my dad and this elder in the church, they say that no, you can't do the legal studies, because lawyers, they twist the truth. Okay, I was gullible, and then I stopped. I didn't. I decided not to do it, and the other field that I wanted to go into, it was also it was philosophy. I wanted to be a philosopher. I fell in love with philosophy at university. Now I talk to the, I'm sounding like, I'm beginning to sound like a fool now, because I talked to this, but I was still young, right? I talked to this a tutor, and I told him my aspirations, and he says to me, but look at these lecturers, which one of them do you think are millionaires? And I was discouraged. Now, however, I did enjoy the career of being a public servant, because I ended up, entering, the government, and I became a public servant. And by the time I left the public service, I was working in the environment of service delivery improvement, having a bird's eye view of the organization. So from that experience, while I was still there, at within a government in my department, honestly, I was looking through the course prospectus from VETS, and I wanted to do a master's degree, because I felt that without master's now, I'm beginning to feel like I'm not educated. And now I came across this Master of Management in Business and Executive Coaching, and that actually it clicked within me. There was there was I quickly connected to the degree. The reason why I did connect is because I can give you a list of young men that I've mentored, growing up. I've always loved that. I've always loved, to empower people, although it was the youth at that time. So at that point in time, I felt that, wow, this degree is flowing very well with what I'm passionate about, which is to help people realize their full potential.
Wow.
Yeah.
There is that way of looking at coaching, and a lot of people say it's a helping profession. But we think it's more than that. Yes, it
Yeah.
is a helping profession, but it's a really, it's more than helping. It's a very challenging. It gives you that independence to help yourself and to help others. But then there is also this expectation or some sort of a requirement that you've got to have the coaching way of being before even you become a coach, before even you study to become a coach. So basically what you are sharing with us is that you saw it inside yourself, that you have it in you to support others to achieve their dreams, right?
Yes, yes.
And
So,
when you arrived at the school for the first time, was that affirmed in terms of the decision that you taken?
Yes, yes, yeah. No, I understand. Well, when it began with the lessons at VES, I realized that coaching is not, a, any close to what I thought it was, especially because it was emphasizing the the centrality of the person that is being coached. Basically, it was talking about if I may put it, in an idiom, that instead of putting something into a person, you are drawing something out of the person. So now, obviously, coming from a mentorship environment, in the sense that I was being mentored myself, by a gentleman who was my boss and also a friend. So I learned about the quasi coaching, as it were, from him. So when I come across the term coaching, it seemed as if it was another way of talking about mentorship, although I thought that coaching must be more, but I didn't know. So that's what I thought of coaching, advising, but when I got there, then it was like a learning experience. And as much as it was a rude awakening, because the emphasis, on the centrality of the person, that the person actually, they have it in them, they have the solutions by and large, because they've lived their experiences. That's why you also have the philosophy of adult learning, that this person have a rich background. So what do you then do in terms of assisting this person to realize their full potential? It's a facilitative process to this, which also to enrich the bit. At school, at VETS, they were calling it, it's sort of like, they bounce off the ideas on you. You ask questions, and then the person realizes that, if they ask questions, back to you, when they answer, they find the answers, that the answer was actually within them. So your facilitative role is to ask, the question, and then the person reflects. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very powerful approach to development indeed. All of us, we found out about that when we start the journey. And then I can really attest to that it was a wow moment for me.
Yes.
When I ultimately discovered that this is what it's all about, not very much different to mentoring.
Yes.
So am I right to say that before you went to study for coaching, were you working for a school of government?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Tell us about how did the school of government actually supported this direction, or influenced this direction, or this curiosity to study further?
Yes, yeah. So the National School of Government is a training and development institution. That's number one. So already there, the influence, is from the fact that, it's empowering a human being. I've watched the challenges of government departments, and in terms of performance and service delivery. And for me, any challenges with performance and service delivery, particularly performance at leadership levels, those challenges are felt mostly by communities in rural areas, townships, and urban slums. People who depend heavily on government services, since we are a social, what do they call this thing? Like a social relief a society where the government, is having these social programs, to uplift people. So for me, that bothered me that the departments. It was my wish and inspiration that their performance is excellence, because that will translate, into excellent service delivery. So training and development for me was not it was not just a pastime. It was something that was very fundamental, to the organizational performance itself. So that inspired, this coaching, because I felt that, with coaching, I have control over the process of empowering another human being, as well as the realization of the goals that you set when you are sitting with a manager or a leader or an executive. So that's how I was influenced. Because now my last point is that the National School of Government, one of the challenges it had, which the portfolio committee kept on asking them about, portfolio committee on public service, that, how do you know that, you are making an impact? And that question was difficult for them to answer. But it would be easier for me to answer those questions, because I wanted to make sure that when you are within the empowerment environment, you put yourself in that journey, there must be an outcome and the impact on that. So that's how I was influenced by the National School of Government.
It is also very interesting that, we all coaches, but we all come from different background in terms of education. Now, you will often find that some have followed academies, coaching academies, others followed coaching institutions, others followed business schools like yourself. And I always associate those who take the path that you followed as the people who are very much interested in going deeper in terms of theories and principles and research work as well.
Yes.
And then, of course, those who go the academy route or diploma route or certificates route very much want to quickly launch themselves into practice.
Yes.
But what fascinates me is when we then converge in the market, in the industry as members of the coaching federations, there's just very little difference, especially if we are all looking at practice.
Yeah.
However, I do feel very strongly that coaching has borrowed so many of its theories and principles from other related fields.
Yes.
And I get very excited when I come across somebody like yourself who took the path of the university, and I said, wow, maybe we'll have in the future a lot of books written by coaching graduates coming from these institutions.
Yes.
Because I do feel that we cannot continue borrowing textbooks from related fields. Yes, it's important. But I think there's a lot to be written about coaching. Will you support that view?
Oh yeah, definitely. I would support that views. Of course, concomitant to that is my support for a holistic approach, which is what you would call academic, but it's the theory, the philosophies of it, because you get grounded. For instance, my thesis was on a career, the career development, right? So I was actually looking at whether human resource management and development practitioners within government recognize the contribution of coaching, to career progression. So I discovered a lot in terms of the theories that influence career aspirations or career choices on the part of people. Traits and factor theories, looking at a human being, what are your talents and what kind of environment, do you, or are you going to thrive more, within, and whether career is a calling, and also the constructivism, which is a postmodern term anyway, in the sense that you are not only looking at rational or empiricism, you are also looking at the construction, how human beings construct their career aspirations. So it's not only about Dr. Mangisa having these talents and gifts, and from there he makes the career choices. There's also families, especially within the African culture. There's also the village. You find that within your village, there are the gospel is about teachers, about lawyers, about nurses. So you have to take those into account as a coach. So I support that view a lot. Because it if you are going to go with models only, Sam, the challenge there is that you will not be. The challenge is that you are not gonna you're not gonna understand the human beings and the dynamics. That is my view. Let's say take role model, for instance. It's talking basically, it's an empirical way of approaching, coaching. So what is the correct, way of coaching? If, for instance, you are going to African societies, then you find that, you have to use a different model, because you understand here that, how these people formulate, the very being and their existence. How do they do that? You find that, it is part of a society, how the society influences them and how they influence, society. So books needs to be written, and from an academic part, but as well as the practical part. And these two, I believe that, there is a core, actually they are influencing each other. They have to go together. So I do support that definitely.
Yeah, there is an outcry there that there's very few African concepts brought up by us African coaches. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to bring this up. And by no means do I suggest that other avenues of coaching are not important, because like in any other education, you will have those people who are really more inclined to be practical, and then there are those who are inclined to go the research route. Which African philosophies, if you had the opportunity to research and bring into coaching, will you suggest, or will you work on?
Yeah. Okay. Well, we can begin with Ubuntu, which is the philosophy that's basically saying that I am because you are, meaning that in order for me to to view myself as a human being, in order for me to view myself as a valuable human being, you have to exist. I have to see myself in you. If you are not, I wouldn't be. So let me try to simplify this. What does it mean exactly? It means that okay, the catchphrase is umuntu ngumuntu ngabantu. Okay, yeah. So that is an African philosophy which is captured, also philosophically from the fact that I am because you are. So we call manifest. If you are not there, I wouldn't be here as well. I wouldn't understand myself. I wouldn't see myself as valuable. Umuntu ngumuntu ngabantu. So that is important because when it comes to coaching, then the client that is before you, you understand them as a being that is part of a fabric, of a community. So how do you coach this person? You have to understand where they come from, have to understand their aspirations, have to understand. You remember that thing that was called black text? You cannot say to this person that, no, you have to look after yourself. You have to be very careful in saying that, because they get edified, when they are administering or sharing, their income. The last one is the African epistemologies, that is the indigenous, knowledge systems. Quickly, I will say there that, you are talking about communalism. You are talking about a situation where knowledge is co-created from the shared space, also that we live here together. This is how we experience, life, and therefore, this is how we are constructing, our knowledge about ourselves, which is why, I feel that, politicians are doing a disservice by throwing or, putting into the people their own feelings. I mean, let me come to a thorny issue that, the whole issue about immigration, right? Politicians, they must create space for conversation, with the people who are the grassroots, because these people understand, the issues, the dynamics, they understand what needs to be done. They understand, how to look at those things. So when you're coaching in that environment, again, you are looking at how these people are generating, their own knowledge. Yeah,
that's why I like the African LEKGOTLA methodology. It speaks to that communal approach, collective learning.
Yes.
Dr. Mangiza, this must be a topic that appeals to you. I know I wanted you to pay attention to what's coming out and give us reflections at the end of the conversation. But this is certainly a topic that must be speaking to you. And I have in mind also my friend, Dr. Dumisani Magatlela. He specializes on Ubuntu coaching. In fact, I think he wrote a book on Ubuntu coaching. And then there's another sister called Nobantu in the coaching fraternity that actually her business trains coaches on Ubuntu coaching. Maybe you might want to connect with them. But Dr. Mangiza, your views there?
Yeah, well, I am so inspired, with the last part that Mzwai made mention of. That speaks to, the epistemology within the African community or the African society. I want to share, one or two examples, in terms of how we are experiencing this as African people. For instance, you read books, in human resources, they speak about succession planning, as if it is a concept that is Western. Where we are coming from, we are saying this is not a Western, development. It's not a Western thing, when we talk about succession planning. When we transition from boyhood to manhood in the Eastern Cape, in a crawl, at that time before, a day of the ceremony, the elder man will talk to you as the initiates, as, amakwana. That conversation on its own, it is about mentoring. That conversation on its own, in fact, it does not even start. It does not even start at the time you are in the corner waiting for the ceremony, the following day. It starts when you are esutwini ebumeni, when you have, those, traditionalnesses imparting, conversing with you, in terms of what is it, to be a man? What is it, to be a family man? Not only about going through the physical circumcision, but being, making you to understand what manhood is all about. You see, that's what, it's coming to me. That succession planning, it is not a
that dedication towards imparting knowledge by the mentors is actually the same dedication that we wish could happen at the workplace, for instance, or at school, the so-called modern school. And my question is, why is it that then when we find ourselves in these setups where you are in a company, that dedication that you grew up having towards journeying together with somebody that you are mentoring, why is that becoming difficult? Is it because of exactly the point we are raising where we say we are not pushing very hard for our philosophies to occupy the rightful space among the many others that are maybe Western or other cultures? Or what is it?
Well, if I may come in quickly, if someone was saying, I think one of the philosophers, that the issue of epistemology, right, is goes hand in hand with power dynamics. So if you're within a particular hierarchy, you recognize or you realize that what you know is based or influenced by the environment that you are within. So how does this unfold within organizations? It unfolds from, first thing, to make a practical example, your performance agreement, Dr. Mangisa will know that is individualistic. It's yours. And what's set in is individualism in terms of the knowledge storage, knowledge acquisition. So there's no space for African philosophies which encourages communalism, where there's no competition, really, or competition is limited. Mostly we operate on a cooperative modality. So even at school is competitive, and you find that, they will say that Dr. Mangisa passed cum laude, we are competing, right, and we become therefore individuals because we are competing, against one another. So the system is designed in such a way that, we focus on individual performance and we forget to look at our brothers and sisters.
That's a very powerful point. Let's acknowledge a viewer here, Afrofinest. I'm not sure whether you recognize who that viewer is. It says Ubuntu philosophy is so important and is such a cry towards human rights. We have unresolved around, the example, immigration issues. You started touching on that, and I think he's not suggesting that it will resolve the problem, but he's suggesting that the way we engage with each other, I guess we need to recognize this Ubuntu philosophy and practice, Dr. Mangisa. I think I did intervene while you were still finishing your thought there, but I think I would like also to just respond to the input from Afrofinest there.
Yeah, let me first touch on the point that Mzwai raised when you were asking a question. What is it, that makes us to shift away, from what we've got, we obtained from the societies, that we are coming from. He said it so eloquently. That it is because of it is because of the individualism, that's there, the unfairness of the competition that you find there. And I want to sum up, to say it is the system, that swallows us at the end of the day to drive their own agendas. And obviously, if you want to act out of that system, chances are the system will then spit you out. So we have to conform to the system. So I'm supporting Mzwai there when we mentions, those issues. The question of Ubuntu, it's a deep-rooted philosophy, deep-rooted idea. And I'm saying sometimes it becomes an idea An idea, it is something that you don't implement, to realize it. Now, within the perspective, or within the space where we find in, as the country, as South Africa, when we speak of the current issues of immigration, the principle or the philosophy, we are failing to implement it. Hence, I am saying it then becomes an idea, because if you don't implement it, if you don't see the impact of this, principle, this, philosophical construct, that is why we're finding ourselves where we are now, because it's only ideation. When we speak about Ubuntu, we don't practicalize it. From a coaching point of view, it then calls us to move away from ideating it and actually practice Ubuntu so that we solve some of the challenges.
You're making me feel very relieved with those remarks, Dr. Mangisa, because I along the Ubuntu principle, I push the LEKGOTLA methodology, which has Ubuntu inside itself, but I go as far as that we put together the manual that we use to guide the processes of engaging and to a point of practicalities. Because you're right, if we have these African philosophies, we bring them into the space, but we don't facilitate the practical side of it, people are going to say, but that remains an idea that has never actually helped anybody. And I think this brings me to some of the fundamentals of coaching, to say that any coaching intervention that does not transform a person to a point where a person moves closer to achieving the set goals, then you are not really helping that person. And coaching is really, as much as it's process-oriented, it is geared to help people achieve certain set goals. And you, as the coach, you hold the space for those goals to be achieved. Now, the argument is, at what point are these philosophies becoming helpful? Are they helpful to you, or are they helpful to the client? In my view, Mzwandile, you can come in there, is that, no, really, you develop yourself for yourself to be able to help the client. The client might not be interested in your philosophies and the theories, the models and the frameworks. The clients just want to be assisted. But you need to know which models and frameworks and philosophies and principles you are using to support yourself on the journey. And that, for me, that's where the rubber hits the ground. And that's where sometimes we find that some of us are very much too practical oriented, and we don't have enough of these principles and philosophies and concepts. And sometimes some of us could be having so much of this concept and end up saving ourselves and forgetting about the client. Hence myself, Mzwandile and I, yesterday, we had a short conversation around this when we were preparing for this, and I said to Mzwandile, this is beautiful. But as coaches, let's remember, at the end of the day, the agenda belongs to the client. You still remember that exchange.
Yes.
You are in the coaching for business, right? Because the difference of the client is feel help. When they pay you, they know you are making a difference. It's your show. I don't want to over.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Sam. I mean, still on the theme of Ubuntu. You see, the moment you say Ubuntu, you are recognizing the fact that we are interconnected. We are interconnected. We are cut from the same fabric. I like that. Dr. Mangisa, within the legal profession, they will call it jurisprudence, where before you look at the text of the law, you are looking, at the spirit of the law. Okay, what is it, that you want to achieve? And you find that, it is the goodwill for the people. You want the people to live and be happy. So when you're interpreting the law, you ask yourself, but is this going to make society happy or good, right? So when it comes to coaching within the modality of Ubuntu, so the fact that we're cut from the same fabric, okay, means that me and the coachee or the client, we are one. And as we are of the same fabric, and being one as a result of the fact that we are cut from the same fabric, we are actually building one another. I ask questions, and the client reflects on those questions, right? And gives answers to themselves, right? But in that process, I am also learning, and I'm being developed myself. And then it becomes now at a practical level, what you would call continuous professional development. That, there is this core development between the two of us. So that's what I like about Ubuntu. And if I may say something very, very quickly, I'm so sorry. That
no, you're welcome. Feel free.
Yeah.
That's your space.
Okay, thanks. So I wanted to quickly talk about Ubuntu in the context of immigration, because it's a burning issue. So we don't want to be misunderstood there. You see, Sam and Dr. Mangisa, the African or the jurisprudence, that is in Africa, which we got from the colonial dispensations, has a lot, or is to be blamed to a large extent, for creating the dichotomy between the citizen and the immigrant. It begins, by the nationalisms, that came into being after colonialism. We are this nation. We have our own president. We are Tswanas. Secondly, the concept of sovereignty. Okay, so the jurisprudence is intended to protect the integrity of the sovereignty of the country. But there's a problem there, because now we have to have a law that creates boundaries, between human beings. And those boundaries are artificial, because when you're looking at all human beings, all right, they are cut out from the same fabric. That is the same fabric. Even if the West is not saying that, we are of the same fabric, it's us as philosophers of Ubuntu, right? The fact of the matter is that, we are from the same fabric. So what would that do if we were to come with Ubuntu and expound it, right, as a fabric where we are all one? We're all one. We are in that fabric. It doesn't matter if we are individuated, as singularities, that I'm Mzwandile, this body, Sam is that body, Dr. Mangisa is that body. That doesn't matter. What matters is that, we are one. So when you're teaching Ubuntu, or we are coaching in terms of Ubuntu, then you begin to say that, but do you understand that, there shouldn't be an immigrant here? So document these people. So you are coaching even the leaders, in organizations. You begin to say that, maybe we must look at the law. Now the South Africans are saying that, but why is there a differential application of the law? Because you have immigration laws, and you have the other laws that you are enforcing on us. If they didn't have to have that conversation, which in my view is created, by the legal system, then I believe that, there wouldn't be this hurdle or impediment to the exercise of Ubuntu, the oneness, that we have. So I do agree with you, Sam, that the notion of Ubuntu is particularly important and is far-reaching, in my view.
I'm definitely going to connect with Dr. Maratela and Nobantu, because I think they will welcome your input, because they took steps to really come up with it as a focus area. Please bring this Ubuntu coaching into multiculturalism in a company, because I do not imagine it being if possible in a monocultural organization. It could only function in an organization that is open to multiculturalism, and it allows various members of that company's leadership or even employees to actually assert themselves from the point of view of their culture, of course, guided by the cultural direction or the culture that the company wants to create. And I bring multiculturalism as an ideal, because that's really highly difficult to achieve unless you really extremely very progressive as a leadership organization. And if you are asked as an executive coach to help the organization to transition from monoculture to multiculturalism, And one of those cultures that obviously being in Africa will be actually various cultural practices of the African component of the organization.
Yes.
How will you go about that?
Yeah, well, I believe that, there should be the philosophy of it and also the practice of it. The philosophy of it, is oneness, the reality of the fact that, we are one.
Irrespective of your culture, it doesn't necessarily mean
Your
it's for
culture.
those who are African who believe in it. It's for everybody else.
Yeah, it's for everybody else. Look, the example that I can bring to the table. When you look at our languages, if you follow the anthropology of language or the history of languages, Xhosa, Zulu, all of our languages, they belong to a language superfamily called Niger Congo. And if you follow that language, you find that it was spoken in the Congo Basin. Then if you follow human beings in terms of how they migrated, you find that they came from the Niger Congo. What is the implication of that? The implication of that is that it is highly likely that people who belong to the same superfamily of languages were sharing space and time and the culture and languages. And now, as you're migrating, south or any direction, you find that, we become groups. And within those groups, we form norms, language. Our languages change, like the Latin, that it became Romance languages. And then we get what is called culture, which culture being just an artifact that we use for a sense of belonging. We use, for identification. We use for being part of this particular community. But still, it's where you are a fragment of a bigger, humanity. That is why you find that, you may have. Look, you are here. You are it's one or closer speaker, right? But what is happening, in Gaza? You find that it affects you. Why are you affected by babies of the Palestinians? And what does that tell you? What is it, that transcends, the nationalities, and the fact that, we have this vast distance, between us? What is it about that? So Sam, when you come now into the organizations, I believe in first principles, teach people principles, okay? What I can call, like the principle of Ubuntu. You don't have to say Ubuntu. All we have to say is to drum in people, the oneness. Yeah. The oneness, like in the middle of saying, shoot the boer, and I don't support that song, all right, but you marry an Afrikaner lady, you are attracted to the Africa or to a white lady, all right, So all these things, we're not looking at them in terms of what they mean, because the meaning of them, is that there is a transcended self that has nothing to do with our physical, expression of our existence. We're now as a. So what do you do then? What you can do then, in terms of coaching, right? You teach that principle. You make sure that, that principle of oneness, is taught, because you have to change the mindsets first. I would say that, even for a year, where you'd be teaching people, to operate, as Ubuntu, meaning that, if we were look at coaching approaches, I would say that, group coaching is very important. And you're taking the principles of communalism, try to tone down on competition, at work, okay, reward, teamwork, okay, reward, helping each other, expose people more to sharing what they have, and also teach people to accept Sam when it's when they are given, because sometimes you find people being givers, but when someone gives back to them, they don't take, and that person feels that I'm being undermined here. So for me, it's the principle first.
Yeah, I think that comes closer to also to the topic of diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's definitely aligned. Let's acknowledge Samkele Qelani. here is saying that compassion and empathy, the active practice of kindness, and I think he was continuing there. Please just finish that sentence, Samkele, because I think you were still typing there. We are missing some important point there. Let's bring this now to the core of our conversation, and it's amazing how quick time flies. We wanted to talk about the challenges of transitioning from coaching school to practice. Share with us some of the dilemmas that you have experienced and the challenges, and how do you go about for those who maybe are about to finish their studies and join us this side of the coaching spectrum.
Yeah, Sam, you approach coaching tentatively because there is no certainty in terms of a professional, or being a professional and getting work in the space, establishing your own enterprise. You are tentative, because of the fact that there is scarcity, at least from my own perspective. When I was approaching coaching, there is scarcity of case studies that tell you how people who have graduated with coaching programs are finding work, much less finding or being able to establish their own coaching practices. So you ask yourself that, if I take a career, I decide to take a different career than the one that I'm at, and I go to coaching, will that be a good decision? Because it's like there's nothing there that gives you assurance that I am actually, the decision that I'm taking is a good one. So you go into it, and then when you come back, you realize that, okay, I have this qualification, but coaching hours are needed, and I do not know for sure if my value proposition is going to find an audience. Is there going to be a demand, for this? In my own personal journey, I had to actually look for programs that are going to incubate me, like lawyers that get tutelage and do articles, and doctors do community service for 2 years. So I thought that before I go out into coaching, I need to find an organization. So I found COMETSA through Dr. Mangisa, which actually is playing a great deal of role in terms of my aspiration, in terms of my hope, because this is going to be my profession now, moving forward.
Yeah. And it's a very important point, because often we tend to allow ourselves to default into isolation. Yes. And it's very hard to get started. I think Dr. Mangisa is going to comment on this when you reflect. I hope he shares with us his own experiences. It's very nice when you go to coaching school, you join fellow coaches, you do fishbowl, and you are coaching and you practice. But it's a different story when you then graduate and you enter the industry. You realize that it's hard to get the first assignment, and if you keep alone outside the network, it can be very frustrating. And because coaching is not cheap, I'm sure you paid a lot of money to finish this degree.
Yes, I did. I think by the time I left, it was around 180,000 rands. So it's a deal of money and effort, to finish.
Yeah, it's a lot of investment. Yeah, I think it speaks to our model, and for those who are listening, we don't understand how we work. There are people that are coaching individually, and they love just being they themselves, but then there is the model, which is the COMETSA model, where we are a coaching enterprise, and we love putting coaches together for assignments And clients loved it because then you show that you are putting together the capacity. Because honestly, as I said earlier on, the clients don't care where the coach comes from, as long as the coach really is helping them to achieve their objectives and they are good coaches. But there are challenges coaches are faced with. The whole aspect of logistics administration before you even meet your client. That also becomes, Dr. Mangiza, I'm sure you will reflect on that. That also becomes a dilemma. And it's for that reason why we opted the route of becoming a coaching enterprise so that we can support coaches, so that coaches can focus really on what they love most, which is coaching. But of course, the coaches must want to be part of our ecosystem as well. We can't own coaches. We can only put them together as a network and ecosystem. But just reflect on that while I'm also bringing a fellow coach Helen on board here, and maybe you can also, as you reflect on my statement in terms of being an ecosystem, also reflect on what she's raising here. That she said that's Helen Lebone, is one of our members of the ecosystem and recently returned back to the country from being on overseas assignments. He says, I like the idea of teaching people in a multicultural environment about the meaning of the principle of Ubuntu, that is oneness, showing the broader application of the term beyond only Africans. Comments there, and of course, the remarks that I've made. Thank you, Coach Helen, for that input. And then we will move closer to allowing Dr. Mangiza also to reflect from what we have been saying. Coach Mzwandile.
Oh, okay. Oh, I thought Dr. Mangiza is coming there. Yeah. No. Well, Coach Sam, what you have said is very important. That the bringing together of coaches into this ecosystem, is vitally important. You are not alone, and what's also very important for me is that the exposure to yourself and other coaches is going to help a lot in terms of building my own confidence and also building my own skills. So that is good. And if I were to touch on what Helen has said in terms of oneness, it's a practical example of what I've been through. Because when, for instance, I reached out to the people that I did back with, the Master of Management in Business and Executive Coaching, I found that they had established individual coaching enterprises, and they had no space for someone like me who's coming from the university, and I don't blame them. And also they definitely didn't have a program such as this, where you give someone a platform to learn and you expose them also to the business side and to do some coaching so that they can get hours. So what that individualism, versus the oneness, I see it in practice here through what you are doing, and I really appreciate Sam, the work that you are doing. Yes.
Thank you. And it is because of my connection with Dr. Mangiza that I got to know you. Yes. There's just benefit for everybody.
Yes.
When you are in an ecosystem.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. Wow. Man, I really just hate it when time flies like this, when we are just about to go deeper into the issues. But now this is the time for Dr. Mangiza to give us a reflection on a number of issues that we have raised, and I don't think we have answers for all of them because of time. But Dr. Mangiza, my brother, I don't know what you have been hearing, and I don't know what you prepared for us in a way of reflection before we going to come back to check out. Over to you.
Wow. I am so impressed, Coach Sam. This is a stellar, ecosystem that we have created.
Yeah.
without
if you can just put your paper on the table, because it's making some feedback.
So some noise.
I know you want to look back at your nose. I don't know how you're going to manage that, but yeah, sure.
I'll find a way. I'm saying without COMETSA, there wouldn't be Mzwandile. There wouldn't be me. So the ecosystem that you have established through, COMETSA, the strategy, of implementing and executing communalism, we see it in practice. Because we would not have been here if you did not put the principles of Ubuntu into practice. So I give you 120%, for that.
Thank you.
Going backwards, where we started. Mzwai, you would not have known that at some point in time you found yourself here.
Yes.
As Christians, we always say, and I don't belittle, other religions. As Christians, we always say, or we believe, that God's plan is never wrong.
Yeah.
When you grew up in a farm, you did not know that at some point in time you will find yourself here.
Yes.
When those who have said to you, you chose, the love for being a lawyer, the love of being a philosopher. You made a comment there, to say, lawyers, they twist the truth. Philosophers, they will die pure, like Shakespeare. Like Shakespeare. But, they were driving you, to something that you love. They were driving you, to something that you want to put to practice. That which you say, that you are passionate, to develop people. You are passionate, not only, to developing yourself, but making sure, that those who are finding it challenging to be where they are, to where they want to be, you want to come in handy and assist and make sure that they find transition from where they were to where they want to be. And also you reflected, and I want to applaud vets, coaching curricula, because when you got in there, though you were being mentored, although you developed love, from the National School of Governance, but when you got to vets, you then began to learn, that there are concepts or constructs, when we talk about coaching, that they call, centrality, where, they honed it to you, and they are honing it to us, by the way, you were teaching us, to say, coaching, it has, the centrality moves towards that of the person that you are coaching, not me as a coach. The focus, it is the person that I'm trying to ensure that there is transition from where the person is to where the person, to where the person wants to be. So I cherish vets. I applaud vets to making sure that coaching is about facilitation. Coaching, it's about me speaking less as a coach, but the person that I'm trying to assist is speaking more, because more often the answers would come, from the person that we are coaching. But obviously, It is about how you ask those critical questions as a coach, so that you can suss out, you can get, as much feedback from the person that you are trying to assist. I cannot say much, about the African philosophies that we want to imbue, into this coaching journey. Mzwai mentioned that one of the critical pivotal, principles, it is Ubuntu, that we must continue to imbue, we must continue to infuse, in our coaching journey. There is no way, that we can, say effectively we are coaching or we are coaches if we live outside the construct of Ubuntu, because without Ubuntu, without practicing Ubuntu, there's nothing that we're gonna achieve. One politician said there is only one race, which is the human race.
Yes.
Mzwai emphasized that, and it also came from one of our commentators here, the Ubuntu philosophy. If we believe that we are from different races, if we are not, attuned of the fact that we are made from the same cloth, as Mzwai is put, we are one race, which is human race, there wouldn't be, the challenges that we're experiencing as a country, that this one is coming from Congo, this one is coming from, Nigeria, and so forth and so forth. It means there is lack thereof of, practicing the philosophy of Ubuntu. Now, your journey, Mzwai, transitioning from school to be where you are now, you have articulated it very eloquently to say because of individualism that is there within the coaching fraternity, it makes it difficult. It makes it difficult for other people, or it will make it difficult for those aspirant coaches, to transition from being graduates to now starting to establish, their own firms, practicing firms, on the basis that the Ubuntu concept may have failed because we are chasing survival, other than looking behind your shoulder and see if there is another person that I can still assist. But within that vein, imagine that person who is not able to assist, this graduate to transition from being a graduate to being, to establish his own coaching practice. You ask yourself a question, is that person a coach really? If that person is unable, to point where, the person can begin to be able, to transition from being a student, to, coming up and open up his own firm. So, and I'm still, indebted to the work of COMETSA, to the work of Coach Zimmer, to say, had it not been COMETSA, because COMETSA is bigger, than you, Coach Sam, unfortunately. Had it not been COMETSA, I would not have been here, and Coach Mzwai would not have been here, and others perhaps would not have been here. So with this ecosystem, the strategy of communalism that you are espousing, that we have institutionalized as COMETSA, it will take COMETSA to another level. And the sooner than later, will realize that COMETSA has taken over. You know, the membership is more than those of other traditional, federations that we know, ICF and others. So I'm saying, Mzwai, you are not lost. There is a lot of, you to learn, not only you, but us as coaches, because once we have poured enough to those that we are trying to assist, we need to fill the glass, we need to fill the cup as well. Where can we fill the cup? We can only fill it at COMETSA. Coach Sam and the audience, thank you very much. Mzwai, the ball is in your court. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. Over to you, Mzwai, reflection your response to the reflections by Coach Dr. Mangisa.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Mangisa. And the issues that or the points that we have raised are actually very fundamental to the transition that I'm going through. When you are talking about the individualism that is in the coaching practice right now versus the communalism. The individualism, I think, embedded in it is the problem of a competition, and also not wanting to share with others the wisdom, the know-how, and the resources, because you are looking at other people as competitors, right? There may not be a problem with that, but the challenge is that, you cannot, the future of executive coaching does not lie in individualism in South Africa. That's at least my opinion. And I think that, the opinion, though, is embedded, in a practical experience on my part, in the sense that if we are not going to get into the ecosystem, more coaches with diverse backgrounds, others, have rich academic backgrounds, others they're bringing in the practical experience. If you are not going to be able to do that, if you are not going to open a door, and you are not going to be a conduit of that is the getting people, the new coaches, into the system, and whatever system that you are thinking of, that is particularly the the market of coaching, the needs that are there in government, and other institutions, particularly our own government and the state-owned enterprises. So you cannot, as individuals, do all this work. So it's the COMETSA work. We have to come back to it. That it has helped a lot, and I'm looking forward, to a great deal of big things that COMETSA has to offer, and hoping that I'm going to contribute as well to COMETSA, because this transitional phase. Because I did not want Coach Sam to be a substandard, executive coach out there, going from academic qualification and directly into coaching. It didn't feel all right for me, so I had to find it. That is why, Dr. Mangisa, I am hugely indebted to you for letting me or introducing me to COMETSA and Coach Sam. So my final point is to say that everything that we have said, the wisdom that has come from here, the communalism, those are the takeaways I'm getting, the communalism, Ubuntu, the oneness, and because that finds expression in the ecosystem, that we have here, and psychologically already, my posture is that I have to share within this ecosystem. This is not the ecosystem of individuals. This is not the ecosystem that's informed or is on the foundation of individualism. As I understand you, Coach Sam, that you subscribed a lot, into communalism, Ubuntu. So I'm not going into it, with the individualistic, mentality. I'm going into it, with the mindset of oneness, of communalism, meaning sharing of wisdom. Thank you.
Beautiful. Well said. Thank you so much. And really, we inspired by those reflections. And Coach Mzwandile, that speaks to the point raised by Samkele Kalani earlier on, compassion and empathy, the active practice of kindness. And I think you wanted to emphasize on that as well in your remarks.
Yes. Thank you, Coach Sam. Before that, there is where right at the end, Coach Sam, where you said, I'm not going to say it verbatim, that there is no other great opportunity for people like Mzwai, other than to give them clients to start coaching. That's a powerful practice that we have done. Because from a leadership point of view, transformational leadership, so to say, one of the principles there that are there, by Professor Bass and others, is you challenge the status quo. You throw the person there. Obviously, you are not going to abdicate responsibility, but you throw the person there, let him, practice, the little, that he may have learned where he was, where he worked before from school, and he must go and practice, those principles. Otherwise, uma uzawuhlala ekhoneni ungenzi lutho, you are not going to achieve anything. You go out there, you challenge your comfortability. Out of that, there's going to be an outcome, of what you are looking for. Now, empathy, it's a critical trait. It's a critical construct. We can't be effective coaches if we lack empathy, if we lack compassion in what we do. From an emotional intelligence point of view, it's a critical defining element, that as coaches, critical that we need to be high in terms of emotional intelligence, in terms of empathy being one of the cornerstones. We must be able to put ourselves in the shoes of the persons that we're trying to assist, be as vulnerable as possible, but knowing very well that your job here, it is to coach, but you can't coach if you lack empathy, if you lack compassion. So critical, that the people that we coach, it should be the people that we love. It is the people that want to show compassion, want to show empathy, so that we remove them from the point of adversity to where, things are going to be better for them in life. Thanks, Coach Sam.
Beautiful. Well said. I'm sure our viewers are inspired, and I'm sure there's a much bigger understanding of the role that we play as coaches in people's personal and professional development, including leadership. I'm sure there is a bigger understanding in terms of the centrality of coaches or clients, that the space is theirs and ours is to hold it and enable them to access their deeper best. And when they do that, then they realize the magic of coaching and the shift internally and the impact they make on those they lead. And that's where executive coaching becomes really meaningful. And in our country that is confronted with so many challenges, the coaches are called to come forward. And I like the fact that we have tried in this conversation this evening to integrate the coaching in from a modern perspective into the existing African philosophies like Ubuntu, LEKGOTLA, communalism, and you name it. And I think we need to do more to write about it to a point where we can then export it as one of those coaching principles and frameworks. I want to acknowledge the viewers on the platform. Samkele Galani, you have been contributing. We appreciate it. Coach Helen, thank you very much for the contribution you made there. We really appreciate that, and I can't wait for the day when your term comes and you can share with us some of the experiences that you made in the outside markets, where you spent three years in foreign cultures, and how we can learn from that experience. We're certainly going to bring you on board. Our best friend, always tuning in, Juliana Makapan. She is the person that brought us the best guest last week when we were talking about Ndate Maikana, when we talking about authorship. Thank you for tuning in. And of course, one of our member and fellow young director, Bongani Ndivani, all the way from Malelani in Mpumalanga, he's been having some challenges in terms of connectivity, and is asking if this video recording is going to be available. Yes, Bongani, the video will be available. Just go back to the platform. You can watch it when your connectivity is functioning very well there. And then, of course, Mzwandile, thank you so much for the input around affirming our fellow executive coach here, Mzwandile. Mzwandile says, I'm the living testimony who was developed by Mzwandile Manto. Wow, that's beautiful. There we are. Thank you so much. We are honored. Thanks for that affirmation. It's really helpful. And then, of course, our famous observer guest on many times, Lindy Broderick. She's one of our regulars here on the platform. Colleagues, say thank you, Mr. Zima, for such insightful discussions this evening. Great takeaways for me. I really appreciate this stellar platform. Thank you very much, Lindy. As always, we appreciate your support. And then, of course, Juliana, again, additional input. Coaching must be seen as a calling due to its leading and empowering characteristics. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. It has to be a calling. And it is more needed in South Africa and Africa and the world than ever before. And I'm not joking when I say that there's a claim that it is the second fastest growing profession at the moment, even in terms of the figures, in terms of turnovers. So next time we should bring the statistics into this session so that people can see. It's an opportunity that we must go for. And in Africa, there's the highest shortage of coaches. When you look at the annual ICF statistics in terms of how many coaches we have in the continent, considering the number of people that live and work in the continent, man, we need more. We need more. Yes, Dr. Mangisa.
Now that you are talking of it, you are referring to coaching as a calling. There's a couple that I'm coaching now, you know. The way I got so involved in trying to assist them, I said to them, you know, my coaching sessions, it's only about an hour. But I could see, you know, because we are engaging, I said to them, I don't mind, you know, going an extra 30 minutes. And that 30 minutes, you are not going to pay for it. You're only going to pay for that hour because I want to give you a tool to transition from where you are to where you want to be. So the calling part of it from Juliana, I fully agree with it. If it is not a calling, the question is, but why are you calling yourself a coach at the end of the day? Thanks, Juliana. Sterling comment.
Absolutely. And you know, right now is the in thing because everybody is waking up to realize that if you are a leader, at least, and you are leading people, you are so important for those people's success that without coaching, you are bound to have more challenges. So it's not a nice to have, it is actually a must now. And I think we need to try as much as possible. And thanks, Coach Dr. Mangisa, for raising that it is more than just the invoice that you are sending to coaches. It's about the opportunity you give them to really achieve the maximum. We don't expect coaches to coach for nothing, but at the same time, we want coaches to understand that it is their calling to help the continent and the country to achieve its maximum capabilities. And more people come into coaching, the better. And we encourage companies out there, please look at it not as an expense, but look at it as an investment. And look at it as an opportunity you can give to your employees and your leadership of a lifetime. They will never be the same once they experience it. And then lastly, also, Mzwandile comes back again to say that I'm really inspired by the oneness and the collectivism with Ubuntu. That is a gift to the world, and I really am happy that Coach Mzwandile has touched on this. As indicated, there are many other coaches out there that are starting to embrace. Ladies and gentlemen, we can be here forever. I wanted to make sure that everybody is accommodated because we are very actively engaged, and that's why I allowed us to go as far as where we are right now in terms of that. I'm going to give you the closing opportunity for the closing remarks, colleagues, and also tell the viewers how they connect with you. You know, your social media platforms, your websites, your cell numbers. Of course, they all know that if they want you and they have lost your contacts, they will find you in this ecosystem called COMETSA. But over to you for your closing remarks and also sharing your way of engaging post this session. Dr. Mangisa?
Go first, Coach Mzwai.
Coach Mzwai.
I wanted to give Coach Mzwai, it's your platform, this one.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Firstly, let me say I can't thank you enough, Dr. Mangisa and Coach Sam, for this opportunity. This is a very exciting platform for me. And it's a journey that I'm looking forward to undertake. I'm sure that at the end, only good things are going to emanate from this journey. And there's quite a lot, that I've learned from this platform. Dr. Mangisa has come with a very powerful perspectives. You, Coach Tsima, you have a vast industry experience and insights there. I'm looking forward, to delve into that one. And which brings me to the question of sharing my contact information in terms of being available. I would say that, honestly speaking, I'm still in this incubation, and I am not coaching yet until COMETSA, of course, say that, you can coach here. So I want to firstly build myself, empower myself, develop myself so that, I am a good coach to you. I can make an input, that is of good quality. I can make a difference. I don't want to be a chance taker. But if for other conversations, of course, you can reach me via my Gmail account, mzwandile.manto@gmail.com. I am on LinkedIn, but you have to use Mzwandile Manto to find me there. I don't know what's my handle there. I am also on X. You can find me via my my name and surname, and also on Facebook. So that is how. So thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Wow.
Coach Mzwandile. Welcome on board, and we are grateful to have you as a member of this ecosystem.
Thank you.
I have no doubt that you're going to fly very high as a practitioner, executive coach. You have done great stuff in ticking all the boxes as you were coming forward, and to be already put on the pedestal here, and you did very well from your coaching school experience point of view and life experience point of view. There's a lot that we're taking away from your insights. And we didn't touch on your other work. You are a contributor to very powerful media platforms. I was wondering why you're not bringing it up, but I'm sure we'll have another session. I can just say for those who out there that are interested, this is a real one of the main contributors to Mail and Guardian. So if you really want to read his opinion pieces, get yourself a copy of Mail and Guardian, then you will understand what a gem of a coach we have here. He's very humble. I understand that, but we are grateful to have him joining this ecosystem.
Thank you.
Don't make his ways to fool. Get him on board to engage with your teams and with your environment. You will harvest a lot.
Thank you. Thank you.
I hope I did not break some of the things you didn't want to expose, but I can't leave Mail and Guardian out. I mean, that's one of the prominent newspapers where opinions are read uninterrupted.
Yeah. No, you did not, Coach Sam. I feel humbled to know that you touched on that. Thank you very much. I thought that, the coaching itself and the platform, the topic that we're talking about, I just wanted to keep that one pure. I didn't want to bring other attention to myself and not.
No, I'm going to invite you back under the COMETSA Tuesdays authorship because writing opinion pieces, that's authorship. So I'm leaving that for a special moment under authorship. And we're going to talk about what it takes to be an author of opinion pieces for such powerful newspapers like Mail and Guardian, Namibia newspapers, and you name it. And the many pieces you've written, quite very interesting stuff. We'll come back to that. Dr. Mangiza, you can see, if I'm not careful, we're not going to end. I need to bring this man back, and then we unpack the authorship side from newspaper point of view. Over to you, Dr. Mangiza, for your closing remarks.
No, thank you, Coach Sam, and to the audience. He is Coach Mzwandile. He is a very, excellent writer, while he is so humble. We want that humility. We want that humility, from you, Mzwandile, but, that comfortability as well. We want to challenge it. And Coach Sam will challenge, that comfortability. I have learned a lot from Mzwandile. There is this concept, the comparison that he came up with that I did not know, because nobody knows everything. The nature versus nature. You see, I did not know that. Know that, but I now know, that sometimes nature nurtures you. You see, to be what you want to be. It takes you out, of the comfort zone, and you become, a different person altogether. So, that's a good principle, from where I stand. But I am contactable, via, I nearly said Twitter, via X, it's Dr. Chem Leadership. If you type there, DRCAM Leadership, you will find me. You will also find me on YouTube. If you type there, Dr. Chem Leadership, you'll find so many videos, that I have, in the YouTube channel. I am also contactable, via the website, www.drchemleadership.co.za, or via email, at info@drchemleadership.co.za. Otherwise, this is a stellar communal platform. Coach Sam, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, colleagues. Dear viewers, that was the COMETSA Tuesdays live, the third Tuesday of the month, and we were talking to Coach Mzwandile Manto, and of course our observer guest, Coach Dr. Kuma Mandiza, a friend of mine of number of years, and we are we meet commonly jointly on a number of times at Dr. Mazwe Majola's leadership platform, another platform that is revolutionizing leadership in this country, in this continent. So it's wonderful that we can expand these networks. As indicated to you, the COMETSA Tuesdays lives are focusing on 4 broad areas. The first Tuesday of the month, we profile one of our members. I can't wait for the next Tuesday next month, first Tuesday of next month, because we're going to profile one of our young member who is in farming, who has never actually worked for anybody. The only work he knows is being a farmer somewhere in Limpopo. So I'm not going to say much now. I'm just inviting you. The first Tuesday of August, we will be talking to that member of ours who is also a director of our COMETSA Social Services Development Agency. He will also tell you what we're trying to do with that agency. But I'm excited about the funding part of it because we need food. We need food. The second Tuesday, we look at authorship, and the next authorship topic is going to be around readership. Maybe I'll bring somebody that has read books that are inspirational and to come and educate us about why it's important for us to read books. And then, of course, the third Tuesday, as I said, we focus on executive coaching and mentoring, and that's what you experienced today. And the last Tuesday of the month, we go into the African LEKGOTLA facilitation, learning and development methodology. We have developed this traditional methodology by writing facilitation manuals. As I speak, actually, this coming Friday, we will be engaging one of our clients on the LEKGOTLA methodology of team cohesion. So these African philosophies work as long as we advance them, yes, integrate them into the modern situation we find ourselves in. My name is Sam Tima. Thank you very much for being with us. This was brought to you by the COMETSA Television Network. The mind, the journey, the destiny. We apply our mind to the journey that takes us to our destiny. Our shows are based on the model or principle we call the idea. We inform and entertain, develop and educate, empower and support, associate and network. That's the idea. And I've got no doubt that we lived up to that principle this evening. Dear colleagues, stay in the studio as I disconnect from our viewers and we'll connect with you again. Thank you.